The other day, I was sharing with a friend something that happened over 40 years ago, where during a personal meeting with the great spiritual master, Maharishi Mahashogi, he told me what to do when I'm feeling love towards someone, anyone. His words changed my life, and I want to share them with you. Hi, I'm Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success Seminars, where we give ways to create a life of true and lasting success. So I had been on a 6-month meditation course with Maharishi where we meditated 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And we were about to go home, and there were about, I don't know, maybe like 100, maybe 125 or so women on this course. I don't even remember. It could have been more. And after 6 months of meditating and eating a very, very simple vegetarian diet and being in silence much of the time, I was pretty excited to get home and have me some pizza and see a movie and also some real live men. But the other women on the course were all beside themselves that it was time to go home and they were going to have to say goodbye to Maharishi. And each of us got to have a personal, just a couple minute interaction with Maharishi. And we were all in line waiting to get into his kutir. And everybody is just like weeping, like, oh, we have to go, we have to go. And I'm like, oh my God, come on, girls, get a grip. So we each were able to go in and ask him one question. And I was going to ask him if I should go back to school because I was like 20, I don't know, 22 at the time, something like that. And I hadn't finished college. So each woman went in crying a little bit and coming out like sobbing. And finally, it was my turn. So I'm like, marching in there, like just thinking, girls, you got to get it together. And I went in and I took one look into his eyes and I burst into tears and I said, why does everyone love you more than I do? And he looked at me and he said, when love comes, let it flow. Don't stop it with your thinking. So for many, many years, I interpreted that to mean that when love flows out of me, don't stop it with my thinking. Don't think, oh, that person won't love me back, or, oh, it's inappropriate for me to love them because it's like a married man, or, oh, I heard that person is dishonest and they're just being nice to me for like some. No, when love bubbles up, just let it flow. Don't analyze it with your mind because, as Maharishi says, no drop of precious love is ever wasted. Anyway, years later, my friend Suzanne Lawler, who's a fabulous coach and a fabulous person, said to me, Deb Sue, I think Maharishi was saying something different to you. And I said, really? She said, yeah. I think what he was saying was when love flows towards you, let it flow. Don't stop it with your thinking. And I think that Suzanne was right. I think it's harder for most of us to let love flow towards us. And I also think that the harder and scarier it is for you to let love flow out of you and towards you, the greater the light you will bring into your life when you do. And perhaps the hardest person to love is you. But until we begin to remove some of our core beliefs about ourselves and develop greater self-love, then it's going to be harder for us to love others and let love in. In fact, if we're not overflowing with self-love, when you think you're loving someone, you're not. You're trying to get something from them. And that something is love, to fill up the emptiness inside of you. So how do you know if you have self-love? Well, I'll tell you one way. If you find it easy to let love in, then you're probably able to feel that. Well, I'd say if you're able to let love in and feel that love deeply, then you could be pretty certain that you have a great deal of self-love. But if you're always deflecting or can't even feel it when that love is directed towards you, then you have a little work to do. So where to start? Well, try this one on. When you do something that you feel is wrong, like acting out of integrity or telling a lie or manipulating or letting someone else take the blame or taking credit when you really don't deserve it or hurting someone with your anger, start cutting yourself a little slack, because the way you treat yourself is brutal compared to how you would treat anyone else who did the same thing. We are so much harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else, and it diminishes our self-love. So even though it's important to live as the highest version of yourself, the only reason we do blame or take credit or lie or not let go of control in the first place is because we don't trust that there's a higher power that has our back. We don't believe that it will work out if we simply do the right thing. If we were really honest, the trust thing is really the hardest thing for all of us. Am I right? If we could just trust, if we would let go of control and let the higher power do its work, and our only job is to do what our inner voice is telling us is the right thing and the true and honorable thing to do, even when it's freaking scary, that's the key to self-love. That and forgiving ourselves when we don't do it, because after all, we're human and humans make mistakes. We get angry, we don't stand up for the truth, we turn a blind eye. We're just not a perfect species. If you never made a mistake, then you're either a saint or a robot. Actually, if you never made a mistake, you wouldn't even be here. I have a quote for you from Esther Hicks, you know, Abraham Hicks. And Esther says this: the expansion of the universe and the evolution of all species is dependent on contrast. How could you ever decide what you do want without some of what you don't want? And so be easy on yourselves. Don't try to hold yourself to the highest possible standard of only being in a place where everything is exactly as you would want it to be. If you could do that, you would cease to exist. So once again, if we want to love ourselves, which is the key to letting love in and loving others, the first step you could take is listening and following your intuition, listening to the higher power speaking to you and acting on that guidance. When you see the miracles that unfold, then you'll be able to look in the mirror more easily and truly love the person looking back at you. So thanks for your time and the time being with me today. And I send you love and wishes for a life filled with all the love your beautiful heart desires.